That's a friend of mine.
Okay. I don't know if you also want to record just as backup.
Okay.
Hey, Christina, you're the first to arrive. We're just going to give it a few minutes and wait for some more people to come in. You're welcome to drop in the chat where you're from or just introduce yourself while we
How
wait.
are you? Yeah, thanks for coming. We're just waiting for some more people to join. We did one this morning, had few more people, so we're gonna do it again.
Mhm. Where are you based, Christina? Are you in the UK or in the US or somewhere else?
She's in Sweden.
Hi, can you hear me?
Ah,
Yes. Hi.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, so it's a bit tricky to see, but
Ah,
I'm in Sweden.
welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to this. The book is on beside my bed, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Amazing.
good.
Yeah.
Great to know you've already got your copy. Awesome.
Yes, I have had it for some years actually, but I haven't done the deep work with it, but it's so fascinating reading. So I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to this.
I agree. And like the reason we're putting this on is because, what Sharon and I found out when we trained as facilitators is that actually, if you've got people to go through the book with, it makes it so much easier to kind of put it into practice.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I find, you kind of read things, but you don't actually do the practice if you're just reading the
yeah.
book. So yeah, great, great. So happy to have you here. We'll just
Oh, thank you.
give it a couple more minutes, shall we, Sharon? See if we've got quite a
People
few
can
people
join.
coming up. So it'd be nice if they join the live and participate.
Yeah, maybe they're just hoping to get the recording.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes that's the way it goes, but
Mhm.
it's always
Mhm.
nice to present to real people, right?
Right, right. Well, I've met Christina this last year, and
Hmm.
she's been a fun person to hang out with. So I'm glad she's able to make it.
Yay. Good.
I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, well, where are we? Give it one more minute and then it'll be 5 past.
Sure.
Can you see our screen there, Christina, right?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just checking because you said you're on your phone.
Mhm.
All right, well, should we kick off, Sharon?
Sure, sure. Well, thanks for joining. And Victoria and I are excited to share the Energy Codes book study with everyone. We went through the Energy Code facilitator training, and we thought, in kind of one of these follow-up meetings, we thought how fun it would be to actually do this with somebody and take a group and do it in partnership. So we thought we would go ahead and kick off a book study and invite all of our lovely friends in to join us.
Hmm.
So I want to take a moment and introduce ourselves for those live and those going to be listening to the recording. We thought we would introduce ourselves in case you don't know one or both of us. So I'm going to start off with introducing Victoria. She is a self mastery and visionary soul coach, energy healer, and new earth guide. She's been exploring the metaphysical and mystical worlds for as long as she can remember and has studied under with some of the great masters in cutting edge revolutionary therapies, inviting exponential breakthrough results. She's been blessed to encounter many exceptional healers and teachers who have enriched her life, helping her with recovery from childhood PTSD. And as she learned to heal mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, her spiritual gifts and healing abilities awakened. With the innate ability to get to the heart of the matter, Victoria brings wisdom, inspiration, and humility to empower you to shift from unconscious living to consciously creating a new story in your life. Her mission is to create balance and harmony between humanity and nature by realizing her true power and the power of teaching others to do the same. Victoria specializes in guiding individuals to awaken to freedom, particularly in times of chaos, crisis, and conflict. Thank you for joining us.
Right, thank you. And so let me introduce Sharon. So Sharon is a transformational coach and intuitive guide dedicated to empowering individuals and leaders to step into their true potential with clarity, confidence, and purpose. As a deeply insightful advisor, Sharon uses her blend of emotional intelligence, practical wisdom, and neuroscience to help her clients navigate personal and professional challenges with ease. Through her natural gifts of simplifying complexity, recognizing patterns, and offering tailored guidance, she empowers her clients to align their actions with their authentic selves and unlock their personal power. Whether helping clients move through life transitions, develop leadership skills, or embrace their unique purpose, Sharon's coaching is grounded in compassion, integrity, and a commitment to lasting transformation. Her ability to combine strategic thinking with emotional support creates a safe and nurturing space for growth, making her an invaluable partner on the journey to achieving meaningful success.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. So it's all Project Awakening. So what really is a spiritual awakening? Now, I think most of us would probably describe ourselves as spiritual, and we might define it as having an interest in spirituality, in esoterics and mysticism. And yet it's so much more than that, than just having this kind of academic understanding. So I thought it'd be fun to share a little story about the creation of Earth and how we arrived here. So the story goes like this. So creator of all that is created this new game called Earth. And so creator was looking for volunteers to come and play on Earth. So you, me, and a bunch of other souls, we, raised our hands and rushed to the front and said, yeah, we'll play this game called Earth. When can we go? And creator said, well, just 1 second, let me explain the rules. He said, so the rules are that you're going to go down to Earth, you're going to take on a physical body, and you're going to bump around in the dark. You're going to forget who I am. You're going to forget who you are. And you're going to bump up against things with a bag over your head until you find your way home. All right. So I think that's a great story of what we're actually doing here, because the awakening is awakening back to our soulful self. And what we find is the identity that we've carried up until that point is the one with the bag over the head. We bump up against things and we put on all these protective layers. And really it's about, shedding all of these layers so that we can once again shine as the soul that we are. And we can actually do this right now because we already are our soulful self. We just don't realize it yet because we're obviously carrying all these protective layers around us. So, Sharon.
Yeah, I love that story because it just gives you this very nice visual. And I also love the simplifying, explaining what this is to awaken. We think it's this really complicated thing, but it's really just recognizing that we are the creator and we're awake to that we're creating our reality. We're not having to protect and, build walls around our heart. We're actually living more vulnerably, focusing on love and not fear. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that story. And then, so the model that Sue Mulder uses in her thing is called the model of awakening. And if you think about it, she uses the idea of a coin, and on one side is the back side of the coin, which is all about victimhood and survival, and then the front side of the coin is the living as your creative self, your creative genius. And it's just a process that we've all intended to go through because it's so fun to awaken. We love to come to awaken to the fact that we are the creator here. And so we're going to go through each of these a little bit more in detail. There's a process that we all go through as we awaken. Okay, so there's 3 stages, and the first one is this victimhood. I don't love that word, but it just means that we think life is happening to us. We live in this chaotic universe that we are trying to control, but we don't have control, and it's all about trying to survive and how do I protect myself? How do I live this next moment? And so we're more operating out of that fight, flight, or freeze, those lower densities that we all experience sometimes. And then the second phase is really moving into the self-help. We all go through this. And this is when we start to become aware that there's more to life, and we start getting off of the treadmill. And it's this beautiful phase where we're really starting to learn about ourselves and really learn about our energy bodies and how to not just associate ourselves with our mind and our body, but actually the truth, the full versions of ourselves. And then last, we move into this creatorship, and that is about fully embodying and integrating all parts of ourselves and not pushing away anything that we no longer accept as or likable or whatever. Just loving all parts of ourselves and integrating it and living from that true self.
Yeah, so we'll just dive in a bit deeper to the victimhood stage, and it's really about feeling a victim to happenstance. We're not really aware of ourselves, and so we don't really recognize at this stage that our thoughts and our belief systems and our actions are actually contributing to what shows up in our reality. And so we're kind of on autopilot, just going through the motions of life. And generally it's kind of this, it is the survival mode. It's kind of like, a bit like the Groundhog Day, where we, get up at the same time, we commute at the same time, we go to work, we come back, we eat and go to sleep, and then we repeat. And so because we believe that we have no influence over our life experience and that we've just got to make the best of what life throws at us, we may be so deep in this belief system that we don't necessarily even realize how unhappy we may be. We kind of accept that getting in dramas with other people and getting angry and frustrated, or being in fear of what may happen next, and just feeling sort of helpless and hopeless, that's just the way life is, and that we've just got to suck it up and hope for the best, really. And so we kind of just live on this like struggle. It's a struggle, really, a struggle to survive model. And so I thought it would be good here to just pause for a moment and invite you, if you'd like to think of something that you would really love to create in your life, a real desire that you have in any area of your life, and maybe pop in the chat what that is. And then the next step is we're going to ask you to think about, well, what maybe is getting in the way of you actually having that show up in your life. So if you want to drop
Yeah,
some...
for me, what's funny about that, Victoria, is like one of the big things that I thought that I had a desire is to share some of this kind of information and knowledge with people. And one of the things that was getting in the way was thinking I had to do this all by myself. And
Same.
so I was really excited to do this with you. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that'd be mine.
Yeah, likewise. So while you're maybe thinking of something you might want to share in the chat, I'll just share a little story. It's a story of a former client that I worked with who got frozen in fear. And so what happened when we started working together, he told me that he had this great dream, this great idea for a business that had been buzzing around in his head for like 10 years. And so when we started working together, I was like really excited and really enthusiastic about getting this idea out of his head and into his reality, making it real. And so we started working together. Everything was going great. He started putting it down on paper, like what does this business idea look like? He started exploring, well, what kind of resources does he need? What other people will he need to help him make this happen? And, the months went by and we were making good progress. And then we put in a date of when he was going to take that leap of faith and start living that business and stepping away from the current role he was in. And of course, this is what happens. And this is the victimhood, the protective personality that we've been talking about. Because, and this is natural, our protective personality will pop up because, it feels unknown. We don't know if our great business idea is actually as great as we would like it to be. We don't know if we're going to take that leap of faith, if it's going to work out all right. And of course, what happens is all the excuses will bubble up to protect us and stop us from maybe making a fool of ourselves or or doing something that's just not going to feel right, or we'll lose respect from other people, or whatever it is. And so in this case, all the excuses like, well, I need the money, my son's just gone to uni, so we have to pay for him, we've just renovated the house, there's always excuses. We can always find a million excuses. And if you notice, the theme was all around lack. And so the fear was that he was afraid that he wouldn't have enough, that there wouldn't be enough, that it wouldn't work out. And so that just stopped him from taking that leap of faith. And, really it's like, well, the time isn't right now. But the time is always right now, because as soon as we start taking that little step of faith and just doing, what has come into our awareness there and then, the next step will unfold and the next step will unfold, and maybe new doors will open, or maybe new people will come into our life that have just the resources that we're looking for. And that's really how the universe works. The universe doesn't tell us like, oh, well, if you do this and you do that, and then this is how it's all going to unfold. No, the universe is guiding us with those subtle little whispers, and we have to have the courage to take the first step. So let me pause and see what we've got in the chat. Sharon, do you want to?
Yeah, Catherine says she would like a life filled with renewed excitement and fun experiences.
Nice, beautiful.
Yes, me too. In
All of
fact, this
us
is
nod to that.
I know what's funny, what's really coming to me now is I was doing some exploring with another kind of master, and she was we were talking about what we want and what we want to grow. And I was thinking, oh, I would love to have more clients. And she's like, is it really clients you want? And really had me kind of question that. And I'm like, no, what I want is people on this journey with me to have these amazing experiences and continue to grow together is really what I was wanting. And so I love that, Catherine. And the other thing I'll say here is really when we move out of this victimhood, kind of what Victoria was talking about, is we were when we start really questioning the validity of our fear-based responses. So, when I was thinking, oh, I want more clients, it was like, again, that lack, and that really wasn't what I really wanted. When I start making decisions more out of love, what is it that I truly want? And how does that show up? And how is that already here? And how do I experience more of that? And so our next slide is when we move into this self-help area. So this self-help, this is when we really start to begin to understand the idea that there's something more to life. We're stepping off that treadmill and we're shifting from surviving to more of seeking. This is the stage where we really start to explore who it is we are, and we discover this existence of this inner world, and we start opening up to healing, really kind of taking off some of those bricks around our heart, removing that protective personality, and then begin to make decisions from our heart instead of our mind, and letting our mind be in service to our heart. And then we begin to do practices like meditation, breath work, and using these kind of energy codes to really help connect and reawaken our energy body and our true self. And so this stage is really characterized by a deeper desire to live authentically and express your higher self, and release some of these old patterns that kept you in survival mode.
I'm listening to something right now.
Oh, sorry, I'm just going to mute you a moment.
And then Victoria, thank you for doing that. Would you like to talk about the creatorship?
Yeah, and just to add to what you were sharing, Sharon, is, most of us are in, most of us are probably in that self-help stage. That's the majority, I would say, of the world. Well, I don't know, is it the majority? But a lot of us exploring self-help, a lot of us still in the victimhood, and then we're now being invited to move into that creatorship. And so the creatorship really is living as our soulful essence. And that's where we uncover our creative genius. So we get to the point where we realize that maybe actually nothing is wrong with me. Maybe there's nothing missing or broken. And actually every perceived challenge doesn't have to be a problem. It can be viewed as maybe a project. And especially if we kind of take ourselves out a little bit and view it as the observer and think, okay, this challenge has come my way, let's approach it like a project. How will I, engage with it? How will I deal with it? And rather than seeing it as a problem and then we're in the problem is part of us and it's our problem and we're owning the problem, we can kind of take that, a different perspective and look at it. And I know for me, from doing years and years of self-help and healing, which was all brilliant, partly, and some of it got me here to the energy codes, which I wouldn't be without now. But there came a point where I was like, you know what, I'm kind of done with this healing. I'm good enough. I'm good to go. And that's when we really have to, we get to the stage where we just start to love all the parts of ourselves, all the all the little insecurities and the vulnerabilities, and just accept that this is the whole of us. And certainly, up until this point, and certainly in the victimhood stage that we talked about, we're probably identifying ourselves as just a body or just a mind. We're not really aware that we're this whole spiritual being that has a body and has a mind. And as Sharon was saying, if we can use our mind to be directed by our heart, then actually that's when we're in our creatorship. Because the mind really is like a filing system. It kind of stores memories, and that's what creates our protective personality, because when something happens in our life, our mind will search in the filing drawer for a similar experience. And if it didn't turn out too well, then the protective personality is going to jump up and put the brakes on, right? And say, oh no, this, we had something like this show up before and it all went wrong. And so we don't take that leap of faith. And so when we come from the heart and we start to feel into life more and listen to the signals of the body who's guiding us and directing us, then we know, does it feel expansive? You know, as Catherine was saying, does it feel exciting? And do I want to like jump in? Does it feel fun? Or does it feel like, maybe I need to be a bit more cautious here? I'm not quite sure yet. And that's kind of, our guide. And certainly in the earlier stages, when we're in the protective personality side, we are, we're less likely to take those leaps of faith, because we're not seeing life as happening for us, we're seeing it as happening to us. And so when we can approach it with a new perspective, that everything that comes our way is for us and we get to choose, do I want to engage with this or not? In the past, maybe we felt like everything that came our way we had to engage with, we had to get involved in all of these dramas, and we start to realize that no, we can step back and choose what we engage with. Have I got anything else to add to that? Oh, just one other thing. So a question that often pops up is, well, how do I know that this thing that happened to me was meant to happen? What if I'd have chosen something else? And the answer always is, well, yes, it was meant to happen because it did happen. And so that goes back to, all our souls kind of mapped out sort of the experiences and the challenges that we're going to have, so that we get to navigate it and we become more of our soulful self, we become more expansive, and we get to know more of who we are. Sharon.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. And this is energy codes are all about doing this quantum flip. And so as you see through the model, it's really what we're flipping is how we see the world, how we perceive everything, and what are the decisions we're making. Are we seeing through the eyes of fear? Are we seeing through the eyes of love? And when we make this quantum flip, we're not seeing through the eyes of fear that everything's happening to me and this is a chaotic world and we have to protect and control and overwhelm ourselves, and flipping to the everything's happening for me and through me, and in harmony, everything's connected and nothing's happening that isn't helpful for me. So really beginning to see through the eyes of love. And so it's really about changing that way that we perceive reality. And seeing ourselves as the creators of our experiences, not the victim of our circumstances. We can start to begin to realize that our energy and our thoughts and our beliefs are really what directly influence the reality we experience. It's about reorienting ourselves in reality and seeing it with different eyes.
Yeah. And like, you could think of it like, in the past, maybe you kept finding yourself looping in situations that were maybe with different people, but the same kind of thing would turn out. Like, it would, you'd end up feeling disappointed or hurt or whatever it was. And as Sharon shared, the flip is, if we find ourselves in situations where it feels like a repeating pattern, that's when we get a chance to choose something different, rather than being in our old sort of reactive autopilot. And that's when we start to create that flip. So what are the energy codes? So the energy codes that we're going to be inviting you to join us on this 6-week book study is a set of practices that you can do to generate your own quantum flip. And so if we think of our body as like a circuit board, and you want everything flowing and humming, but every time something happens to us and it hits us and creates an emotional block, what happens is we tend to store that emotion in our cells, in our body, and our muscles have memory. So that that situation is going to create like this block in our energetic flow. So what we're going to be learning in the energy codes is learning how to recognize when there's a block in the system, and then use a series of tools and practices to unblock the energy, get it all purring and humming again, so that we can, carry on navigating our life. And this book will be like your manual, so you're going to always have it to be your guide. And it's something that sits permanently on my desk because it's just so revolutionary and brilliantly helpful. And so we thought it'd be fun to share a couple of stories of other people who can experience this, the brilliance of the energy codes. So Sharon, do you want to kick off with the breakfast story?
Yeah. So this story is to kind of show you an example, and it's true. It is a true story. At least the first person is, right? So um, I had a client call me, and she was just so angry. She was like, I can't believe it. My family just doesn't help me. It's I have to do everything myself. I'm just exhausted. I'm so tired of this. It's awful. I don't even know what to do. And then she goes on to tell me the story about her breakfast. And what happened was the night before they had company over and they stayed a little late. So they thought, oh, we'll just clean up the dishes and stuff like that in the morning. And then the next day she decided, she woke up early and she went into the kitchen. Everything is a mess and the living room's a mess. And she decides to make breakfast, and her family gets up and they just go, her husband gets up late and her kids get up late and they just go and sit at the table. And her story is, they just expected me to serve them. Couldn't believe it. In fact, my husband said, can you bring me a fork? I was just so mad. I just wanted to lose my crap, right? So I so she started yelling at her kids, and the kids got into a fight, and she sent the kids upstairs to their rooms. And she's like, and the whole day was just ruined. The rest of the day was terrible. Okay, so that is this one story. Whereas the next story is a woman, same circumstance. She wakes up, and the night before they'd had a party, and she remembers, oh, that was so fun. I'm so glad we did that. That was a great time. Oh, look, I have this amazing food that I can make this beautiful breakfast for my family. And she makes this beautiful breakfast, and her family wakes up and goes and sits at the table, and she looks over and she sees her husband playing with her kids, and she thinks, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky that my husband is involved with his kids, and they all love each other. And she serves this amazing breakfast. And after breakfast, she's like, hey, kids, and will you guys all help me clean up? And they all clean up together. And then they decide to go on this beautiful hike in the woods and have this amazing adventure together. And so what is different in the stories? They're exactly the same circumstances, but it is about what they're focusing on. The first lady is thinking about all the things in the past, all the things where her husband wasn't helpful or the kids were adding chaos. And the second story, she was in gratitude. She was recognizing, seeing through the eyes of love, and she was present. She was in gratitude about what she had and what she was creating. And you can see the response, even though the circumstances were exactly the same, it was about how she was perceiving and responding to her reality, creating what it is that she wanted.
Mm.
And so it's really about seeing through the eyes of love, which is goes directly into your next story, Victoria. Do you want to share about being loved?
The love story. So we've all got a love story, right? We've all been in love. Hopefully we are still in love. But the story goes that when we're really infatuated with someone, so cast your mind back, and maybe this is sort of like when we're in our teenage years, we see a guy or a girl and we're so infatuated with them, and every time we see them our heart leaps out and we're just fixated on this other person. And so what happens is we just throw all of our energy, we're all like mushy and gooey over this person, and our energy is over there on that person. But what tends to happen is the more we're over there on that person's like, oh, this feels a bit too much for me and doesn't feel safe or stable or calm. And so what happens is they move a bit further away. And so they move further away and you jump, after them even more. And so you're constantly, not actually aligning because you're pushing them away. And so it's like if you can show love for someone, but also not forget to show the love for yourself and know you, then you're not going to be literally chasing someone away. And I think that leads nicely into the visibility story.
Yeah, and so this story is actually one that I've experienced, and probably a fair number of you have as well. But I was in corporate America for 25 plus years, and I can remember sitting in meetings, and probably happened lots of times, sitting in meetings and where people are talking and brainstorming and we're having a conversation and saying something, and it just falling flat, like nobody like responding to it. And then 5 minutes later, somebody 3 seats down from me or whatever says almost the exact same thing, and everyone was like, that is a great idea, let's do that or whatever. Having that experience. And so what was going on there? What was going on there was I was invisible because I was invisible to me. I had my awareness on everyone else and not inside me. So they couldn't feel me because I couldn't even feel me. I had projected my awareness, my consciousness elsewhere. So the trick is to actually bring your consciousness back into your body and pay attention to how you feel and respond in an embodied way. And it's almost, you learn how to have awareness on multiple places, one inside your body, one inside what's happening in your environment, and three, what's happening in the field and the interaction. It's creating this new consciousness, this third consciousness that is created when you remain embodied. And so with that, we thought it'd be fun to kind of share an experience. Victoria, when you would like to.
Yeah, well, just to add on the back, like I think all three stories, the breakfast story, the love story, and the visibility story, they were all demonstrating when we disempower ourselves because our energy is either seeking validation or wanting to be seen. And like Sharon was sharing, not really seeing ourselves or even validating ourselves. And so we're going to share a practical experience so you can get a feel for it yourself. And we call it SOS, like help. What's going on? And so the SOS is bringing our energy back to our core. And SOS stands for subject, object, subject. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is just spend a minute, find something about a few feet in front of you. It could just be an ornament or an object in your room or an animal maybe. I want you to find an object and I want you to really focus your attention on this object or this animal, and imagine that you're really throwing all your energy onto this object. And you can imagine, like I described, when you're really infatuated in love with someone, you could maybe try that and just throw all this love energy onto that object. And so when you're doing that, I just want you to spend just maybe a minute really noticing what happens to you here in your chair when all your energy is over there on that object. And then when you feel ready, you're going to bring all your energy back from the object back onto yourself. And you can do that with just like a single long, deep breath into the belly. And you bring your energy back to your core. And you can still look at the object. The object's just there, but you're noticing now that you're seeing the object, but your energy is still held in your body. So just again, spend a minute and just notice what you notice. Notice the difference. And so you can apply this in any area of your life, you know, as Sharon shared in the workplace. If you don't feel you're being heard or seen, you can check, or where's my energy? If you're infatuated with someone, you can tone it down a little bit and remember to also be infatuated with yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's really subtle, but it also doesn't feel very well when you're doesn't feel very good when your energy's elsewhere.
Mm.
It feels
Maybe,
actually.
sorry.
Mhm.
I was going to say, if anyone wants to share what they experienced, it'd be great to hear. Feel free to pop in the chat.
Well, why don't we invite them into the 6-week book study?
Mhm.
So thank you guys for all joining us. We would love to invite you into this um, 6-week book study that we're going to do. We're going to host from October 29th to December 3rd. And we'll meet once a week and kind of go through each of the different energy codes. And what we'll be sharing is we'll do a little bit of teaching, a little bit of discussions and Q&A, and we'll actually do some practices and in a way that can begin to open up these subtle energy bodies around us and learn to live more from a soulful self.
Mm.
So, and if you can't make every session, don't worry, it'll be recorded and we'll send it out. But we hope you can join us in this more of an intimate setting and as we go through this book study. And last but not least, here are the next steps. If you're interested in doing this with us, we are keeping the price really low because we want to just have this a fun, lighthearted way to go through the book. It's $75 for 6 weeks, and that low early bird price is available through September 30th. And then we'll ask you to purchase the Energy Codes book separately, and you can find that at Amazon or any of the bookstores. But you can buy the book or the audio or the Kindle. It doesn't matter, whatever works best for you. I always like to listen to an audio while I'm hiking or something like that. But we hope that you can join us. And the link is here to join us. And if you have any questions, you can see our email address is here. And we have additional time, so you feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions. I'll put the link in the chat. And Victoria, if you want to add anything, it would be great.
Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, so we're going to spend 6 life-changing weeks together, and I can definitely guarantee it'll be life-changing because we've both been through it ourselves. And yeah, I'd love to invite you if you've got any questions about what we've just shared, or about the book study coming up next month. Then yeah, please unmute yourselves and let's have a conversation.
Oh, and Catherine, thank you for responding. She
Mm.
said it when we in the SOS. She said much of her energy had gone into the object. Thank you for.
Yeah, well observed. Awesome. So would anyone has anyone got any questions? Is there anything that you would like answered, or anything about your own circumstances that you'd be curious to know if the energy codes can support you? We've still got quite a few minutes, so yeah, this is your time. Right, well, if nothing is burning, then you've got our details. If something comes to you later, then feel free to ping us a message. And check out the website. There's some bit more information about how it all work. And yeah, we would really love to see you on the 6-week course with us.
yeah, it'll be fun and lighthearted and, um, you know, a great experience as we travel through each of these and learn more and more about each of these different energy bodies.
Yeah, and
So,
we can guarantee you will receive a transformation. I mean, there's no denying that it will not happen. Thank you, Christina, for your comments. Thank you. We really enjoyed giving this presentation, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. And thank
yeah,
you so
thanks
much for being here with us. Thank you for coming.
yeah. And Colin joined as well. I don't know if you saw that. He came in as well.
Colin, thanks for coming in. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll send out an email shortly and a copy of the recording. So if you did miss the beginning, then you can catch up with that. All right. And then to
Well,
those
thank you,
who are
guys.
catching the recording later, it will be in very soon.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Do you want to stop the recording?
Mhm.